Welcome back to the channel, everybody. So we're going to begin right here with a string of tweets from Caitlin Long. Everyone knows what's going on with Silicon Valley Bank. The bank collapsing. The legacy system is about to get hit hard. But we've always known this was coming. We've been warning people for about 2 years almost now that the legacy system is on fire and it is bleeding out. And now people are beginning to see what I was talking about, what many, minds within the bank coin crypto sector have been talking about as far as the legacy system is collapsing in on itself. It's a house of cards. And listen, any distributed ledger technology company that is in heavy with the into heavy business with the legacy system is going to feel the ripple effects as well, as you're seeing with USDC, Circle, the DPEG. And yes, there's measures they can take. I'm going to try to remain balanced here. There's measures that they can take in order to remedy everything. However, it's a matter of if certain minds that are in power decide that they're going to actually deploy certain mechanisms to restabilize everything. They could. It doesn't mean that they are. Because remember, there's certain legal jargons within paperwork that have said, hey, listen, we don't have to do anything for you at this particular time. The government and a lot of big businesses didn't want to have to help to bail out any banks anymore. This is why they had the bail-ins, right? So it's a matter of now finding out what they're going to do with this capital. Of course, they do have FDIC insurance and all of that, but if there's a big enough ripple effect, is there enough insurance to go around? That's going to be the question, right? And how much of a ripple effect is there going to be? So there's two different ways that, and I'm going to let in a moment Caitlin Long elaborate a little bit further, quite eloquently, I might add, but I'll just give my humble thoughts very briefly. There's two different ways that that's going to affect everybody. Number one, bank runs. It already has begun. People are lining up outside of banks to get their money out of certain banks. Read about that. So bank runs have already begun. They're trying to keep it quiet. Bank runs, not only on traditional legacy system banks, but on stable coins as well. They try to put a pause on some of that by stopping conversions at Coinbase and Binance for USDC and such like that. But listen, as soon as you activate that again, unless you can repeg and assure the people that their funds are safe, yeah, the people are going to remove their capital. That's a bank run. And they will be wise to do so. I couldn't disagree with that, but as a company, you're going to have to assure them that, hey, listen, we're okay. Your funds are not going to disappear as such. But that's what happens when you rely heavily on the legacy system. You're going to feel some of that pain, right? All right, so now let's read this string of tweets here. That's just my humble opinion. Not financial advice. I'm not a financial advisor, but we've been telling people the banks are not safe for a long time. We've been telling people that the legacy system is antiquated and old. And once again, what we have said has come to pass. We're not psychics here, folks. We're researchers. So we're looking at catalysts. We're looking at cause and effect. And based on all of the different causes, we saw this effect coming sooner or later. There was no firm time on this, but we've been talking about this for quite some time. Have we not? All right. And Silicon Valley Bank is not the only one. You had Credit Suisse also is in jeopardy. So you have that looming sword of Damocles over the head of the banking system as well. If that were to go down, if they were to have some massive types of issues or problems, then that will be a domino effect as well, or contagion, as they're saying. So these are all things that we have to watch. Now, this bodes well for the new financial system. Why? Because if they wanted to save themselves, they could deploy the new financial system. Ripple has the key to their survival. Stellar has the key to the legacy system's survival. Algorand has the key. Will they deploy these things? When will they deploy them? Is this the beginning of the fall of the legacy system? We have to wait and see. It remains to be seen. But we will follow the catalyst as good researchers do, and we will protect ourselves at all times, as wise people do. Let's read this string of tweets here from Caitlin Long, okay? So, it says here, a key question astute thinkers are asking why community banks matter and how widespread this panic could become. I don't think, look, all banks are in jeopardy, in my humble opinion. People will not trust them. If these banks approach everything the wrong way, I've been saying this for about 3 weeks now, haven't I? All it takes is for a few banks to have some bank runs occur, run dry on capital, right? Initiate what they call it, the bail-ins, the people will not trust them anymore. And the mainstream media can try to keep it quiet all that they want. The people are going to be posting YouTube videos on it. YouTube might want to keep it quiet. They'll be posting TikToks and Rumbles on it, and the people will learn about it. They won't trust the banks. So then that's going to be a major, major problem. So yeah, I think the entirety of the banking system is at risk, in my humble opinion. They need to deploy the new financial system. Simple as that. All right, so now it can create the biggest liquidity cushion the world has ever seen. And Caitlin Long is going to add something to that when it comes to FDIC insurance and the limitations on such. There's limitations, folks. They need the liquidity cushion that the bank coins can create. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm wrong. But as of right now, you're seeing that the legacy system is on fire, as we predicted. And this is just a small fire. This is not the major one. Not yet. But let's continue right here. It says, and how widespread this panic could become. They're calling it contagion, panic, contagion. Same thing, right? Domino effect. I prefer domino effect. It says, don't know, but it could spill over to big banks. Keep this in mind, folks. Stay up to date on catalysts. Be careful. It says, one scenario, if FDIC depletes its insurance fund, it borrows from U.S. Treasury, which relies on primary dealers. Here we go. Let's jump into the fire. Many people are saying big banks are safe. What? Why would, after everything people have learned, why would you say and believe big banks are safe? They're not. They're not. But Caitlin Long's going to tell you why. It says, because they hedge the interest rate, quote, gap risk that is now plaguing community banks. Plus, they've had fewer deposit withdrawals because they made one good chess move. It wasn't even that good. It was okay, really. It says, yes, short term, but here's the scenario. Let's scroll down here. FDIC insurance fund at 12/31/22 had 100, keep this in mind, folks, $128.2 billion. That's it? My goodness, my word, that's nowhere near enough. If there is a true outward ripple effect, if the dominoes really do tip over, if these bank runs and I mean, it's not enough. But let's continue on here. You've looked at the annuals, you've looked at the financials of a lot of banks. We covered a lot of banks on this channel. That's not enough to cover the domino effect that could come. That's just my humble opinion. I could be wrong. All right. FDIC can borrow. So if they it says FDI insurance fund had $128.2 billion in it 12/31/22. FDIC can borrow, this is if they run that dry, can borrow up to $100 billion from U.S. Treasury if it ever needs additional funds. All right. Two issues. A, U.S. debt ceiling limit could come into play. We've been talking about that debt limit, the debt ceiling. They haven't even come up with a deal for that. Look at how many catastrophic scenarios are lining up. New financial system coming fast and in a hurry. In an emergency scenario, possibly. Maybe it doesn't, but it's possible. They haven't, if they don't come to a deal on that debt ceiling, what's happening right now is nothing compared to what will happen. They're going to have to come up with a deal, but they haven't as of yet. You heard Janet Yellen complaining about this and sounding the alarms on this for quite some time. I mean, it's questionable if some entities actually do want to take down the U.S. It's questionable at this point. I have to be careful with what I say here. Anyway, so yeah, I'm keeping my eye on that. I consider that a possibility. Controlled demolition. I do. I consider that one possibility. Maybe that doesn't happen. Maybe that's not occurring. But I consider it. That's all. All right. It says here, B, U.S. Treasury relies on primary dealers to handle U.S. Treasury auctions. Is that so? In a truly systemic run, which I'm sure policymakers have gamed out. What? You're sure? I don't trust them. I don't think that they've gamed it out. Maybe they did, but there's no guarantee. They rarely even know what's going on. They rarely even know the technical jargon that they're using to talk about the financial system to a scary degree. But I get it. Caitlin Long, you're a part of the legacy system. You have to play nice. I get it. I understand. I respect it. It says here, in a truly systemic run, which I'm sure policymakers have gamed out, Congress would likely remove FDIC $100 billion borrowing cap. Likely remove, not a guarantee. Possibility. We'll see what happens in reality. Congress, oh my word, they are terrible. Listen, everyone thought that Congress, when they first came out and said they were going to take action to deploy fair regulations for crypto, that they would actually do it. Remember that? Everybody took the power out of the SEC's hands for a moment and they said, hey, Congress, do something about this. Congress said, OK, we're going to think about it. Then they came back and said, we think SEC should do it. What? And they kicked the ball back to the SEC. Remember that? So, no, I don't particularly, just personally, I don't trust Congress. I just don't. I don't trust any politician, quite honestly, but I don't trust Congress. It says here, so I don't know if they gamed it out or not. And I don't know if they actually would approve of such a thing either, because like I said, certain legal jargon in contracts and paperwork, when people are signing up to deal with these banks, says, hey, listen, if anything happens, we can take your money and bail you in. We've been talking about bail-ins for quite some time, have we not? I'm telling you, the new financial system coming in hot, coming in fast, if they make the wrong moves here. Let's continue on here. I was going to say something else. Let me continue. It says, but here's where the big banks come in as primary dealers. They're required to bid on U.S. Treasury auctions. This is not good. This is not good. They're required to bid on it, even no matter what the cost is, putting themselves in possibly putting themselves in jeopardy. Because these scenarios, I don't think ever took into account that we will be in a harsh economic circumstance as it is. They're struggling to survive as it is. You see? So you're bringing it together, this almost black swan event with what's already like they're calling it a recession, but it's really a light depression in my humble opinion, where they're struggling to survive already. Chaos. Let's continue on here. I don't know if I'm being eloquent or not, but I'm trying to give you as much of my thoughts as possible, the depth of my thoughts. It says, but here's where the big banks come in as primary dealers. They're required to bid on U.S. Treasury auctions, which means they risk their balance sheets. Yeah, they're required to bid. I mean, there's so much to this legacy system that makes no sense, and they're worried about crypto. Did you see the article where you have these politicians? I'll just say it like that. I don't want to drop names right now. They're still attacking crypto today. Yesterday also. While this is going on with their legacy systems bank, they're still attacking crypto. What? They're risking their balance sheet. So now let's scroll down here. Here's the list of primary dealers who might have to risk their balance sheet. Here we go, folks. Let me see if your bank is on this list here. All right. I don't know if this is all of them. This is just the list that Caitlin Long is putting here. Caitlin Long is doing a great job, by the way. This is a tremendous line of tweets. ASL Capital Markets, primary dealers. Bank of Montreal, Chicago branch. Bank of Nova Scotia, New York. BNP Paribas, Securities Corp. Barclays Capital, Bank of America Securities. Cantor Fitzgerald, Citigroup, Credit Suisse. What? You're on here, Credit Suisse? You're on here? With all the problems you have? Holy smokes, what is going on? I mean, I'm just more mind blown as we get deeper into these problems of how horrible the legacy system is. Daiwa Capital Markets, Deutsche Bank, Goldman Sachs, HSBC Securities. You see where this is going? Holy smokes. Jefferies LLC, JP Morgan Securities, Mizuho Securities USA, Morgan Stanley and Company, NatWest Market Securities, Nomura, RBC Capital Markets, Santander, U.S. Capital Markets, Societe Generale. We've covered a lot of these banks, so we know what some of their capital looks like. TD Securities, UBS Securities, Wells Fargo Securities. Yeah, we covered a good amount of these banks and looked at a lot of their annuals, a lot of their quarterlies over the last few years. Now, see, this list looks very good when the economy is doing well, when they've got a lot of capital flow and everything's going good for them. This list looks great. Right now, it's questionable. It's questionable. Hopefully it doesn't go that far. We will see. We will see. Hopefully it doesn't go that far. So then let's scroll down here. All right. Let's continue on here because I think this is very important to cover at this particular time. So we'll get to the other articles in a moment. It says, so I don't know how far this panic will go, but those who think there's a firewall between community banks and big banks are missing a key transmission mechanism: primary dealers. I'm not predicting this will go that far. Yeah, I'm hoping it doesn't because the people don't need this. Honestly, be quite honest. Just deploy the new financial system and save the system. They don't want that though. It's insane. Just my humble opinion. It feels as though they like to see the people suffer at times. So anyway, I hope it doesn't go that far because I don't want to see the people have a tough time. I really don't. But yeah, that's very concerning. He says, I'm not predicting this will go that far. No one knows. Just laying out the system plumbing. Yeah, so people don't take a false sense of comfort in this particular time. Protect yourself at all times. Not financial advice. I'm not a financial advisor. You know, make your own decisions. Let's move on to this article here. My word, things are happening so dramatically quick. It's unbelievable. So this is another article. It's titled, Government Has About 48 Hours to Fix a Soon-to-Be Irreversible Mistake. This is from Bill Ackman. So let's scroll down here, read this little tidbit here. It's from marketwatch.com. All right. So once again, they reiterate the quote, the government has about 48 hours to fix a soon-to-be irreversible mistake. That's Bill Ackman, the billionaire founder and CEO of the hedge fund outfit Pershing Square Capital Management, speaking via Twitter early Saturday about Friday's dramatic collapse of the prominent tech sector lender Silicon Valley Bank. Continued Ackman, quote, by allowing SVB Financial to fail without protecting all depositors, which they should do, the world has woken up to what an uninsured deposit is. An unsecured, illiquid claim on a failed bank. Absent JP Morgan, JPM, or Citi, or Bank of America acquiring SVB before the open on Monday, a prospect I believe to be unlikely, I think is unlikely also, but we'll see, or the government guaranteeing all of SVB's deposits, the giant sucking sound you will hear will be the withdrawal of substantially all uninsured deposits from all but the systemically important banks. Do you see where this is going, folks? We've been trying to warn the people for a long time. Wow. I mean, that was potent in my humble opinion. What's about to happen if they don't take action right now? My word. Anyway, let's continue on. I'm going to let this individual continue. The abrupt collapse into receivership of the bank, a unit of SVB Financial Group, SIVB, has left some startup businesses scrambling to make payroll and wondering whether they will be forced to lay off staff, more layoffs, if money held by the bank is frozen or even lost. So they can't pay the people and they're going to have to fire them. Large companies such as TV provider Roku and video game maker Roblox, warned investors that they had hundreds of millions of dollars in cash deposited with Silicon Valley Bank that may suddenly be in jeopardy. Wow. Roblox is a huge game. And they're starting to do use portions of Roblox for metaverse projects, right? So then it's also relevant in that way. Quote, already thousands of the fastest growing, most innovative venture-backed companies in the US will begin to fail. Fastest growing. Things are about to heat up. They better take some action. This is going to show people a lot about how their government feels about them. And this is going to be a huge blow to the trust of the layperson has in the banking system. Now, let's continue on here. Will begin to fail to make payroll next week. Silicon Valley Bank had relationships with more than half. Bro, the government, they just need to just solve this situation. There's a reason I say that. I'm trying not to go too deep because they will punish this channel. They really will. But they deploy capital for many things. Deploy capital for this. Save the people. Just one time. Do it. Just one time. Oh, my word. Let's continue on. Silicon Valley Bank had relationships with more than half of the venture capital-backed companies in the United States, according to its website. If there isn't a quick rescue of the bank, the consequences could be dire for many startups and for the broader tech scene, said Gary Tan, chief executive of Y Combinator, a noteworthy Silicon Valley startup incubator. While the Federal Deposit Insurance Corporation, the FDIC, took over the bank, which is known for lending to startups but also engages in private banking, providing mortgages and other financial services, depositors are only federally insured up to $250,000. The bank's assets total more than $200 billion. Around $42 billion was withdrawn from the bank on Thursday alone, according to California's Department of Financial Protection and Innovation. Silicon Valley Bank was closed by the state agency and FDIC on Friday, with trading in shares of SVB Financial suspended after precipitous decline on Thursday and in pre-market action on Friday. Okay, so now we're going to stop there. Once again, that was on marketwatch.com. Let's move to another article here. All right. So now we get to this article here. This is on Cointelegraph.com. They're doing a great job over there. Make sure to check them out. Give them some traffic. And it's titled, USDC slowly repegs on unconfirmed reports of SVB resolution. According to insiders, 50% of uninsured deposits will be paid out by next week. According to a post on March 11th by Bob Elliott, Chief Investment Officer of Unlimited Funds, relief efforts may already be underway less than 72 hours after the collapse of prominent American tech bank Silicon Valley Bank. Elliott claimed, among many items, that, quote, big banks actively working on buying SVB business. Definitely possible. And I hope so. We'll see. Either way, new financial system is coming. But I hope so that the people don't have to suffer. Once again, my interests are the people here and hoping that everything works out for them. So the U.S. Federal Deposit Insurance Corporation, FDIC, is planning to cover 95% of uninsured depositors to the acquirer, and that, quote, 50 PCT of uninsured, 50% of uninsured paid out next week, unquote. All right. Says it's hearing it from insiders. I don't know how much you can trust that, but it's possible. Cointelegraph reported earlier today that Circle, the issuer of the USDC coin stablecoin, had over $3.3 billion in reserves stuck, that we all know. In addition, SVB reportedly custodied an estimated $5 billion in funds for prominent blockchain venture capital firms such as A16Z, Pantera Capital, and Paradigm. Earlier today, USDC depegged from its 1-to-1 US dollar peg to trade as low as 87 cents a piece before slowly repegging to trade at 95 cents at the time of publication. Although the reports are currently unverified, multiple sources confirm that many different tracks to resolution are being worked on and that depositors will get back at least 50% of their deposits by next week. Long term, it's likely they get 90% plus back, and very possible no depositors lose a single dollar. Unquote. Hal Press, founder of investment firm North Rock LP, stated. Let's remember that name. You're making some pretty powerful statements. I hope it's true. I really do. It says on the same day, Mike Moyes, associate director. Why did they write that? I mean, this is some kind of weird error. I have to say that because you'll think I'm going insane reading it like that. Let's move on. He's associate director of business advisory firm Cross Country Consulting, also made similar comments, citing secondary sources. Quote, SVB's customers will have $250,000 unfrozen on Monday and 50% of the remaining balance dividend to depositors within 1 to 2 days of Monday. Money market accounts likely to get 100%. The remainder will be dependent upon future recoveries. Most recovery will be within 3 to 6 months. Okay. So now let's move on to another article here, because of course Ripple continues on with business like nothing's happening. Oh man, it's so good to be a bank coin holder. I tell you, doing all the research over the years and seeing the catalyst of where everything is heading and seeing how the legacy system it literally is collapsing on itself. We predicted it. We know that they need a liquidity cushion. We know they need security. We know they need smart contract capabilities. You saw how easily it was to stop a bank run with USDC. And that's what the banks want. They want that ability as well. It's another reason they're going to try to utilize or congeal with the bank coins, which they need for interoperability, which they do not have at this particular time. They don't have sufficient interoperability. Most of what they have, it's the same as what they do now within their closed, tiny ecosystems. But let's continue on here. This is from Ripple.com from an article titled, "How Companies Can Modernize Treasury Management." I believe it was either released today or yesterday. Let's start here. It says, although traditional payment rails are making attempts at modernization, many businesses do not have the time or capital to wait for an antiquated, look how they describe the system, antiquated global payment system to evolve into a more equitable playing field. What are they trying to say here? I think they're saying what Alphanim is saying. You can use, listen, well, Ripple doesn't make this a secret. They want them to use XRP outright. XRP can run everything. They want to move the bulk of the big money. They'll take all the money if they can, but I think they want to move the bulk of the big money. And so they're letting them know, listen, you don't have time to wait. We don't have time to wait. And this was released strategically around the same time all of this Silicon Valley banking problems, these legacy banking problems are occurring. Ripple knows what they're doing. Good. Generational wealth, people. New 1%. Ripple knows what they're doing. And we all knew it was a matter of time before the legacy system would start bleeding more profusely. And Ripple is striking while the enemy is weak, the same way they do with us. Good job, Ripple. Good job. Let's continue on here. Legacy payment rails disproportionately serve financial players who tend to have long-standing relationships with correspondent banks. Sound familiar? They're telling, but they're also exposing that weakness, right? If you rely on the legacy system, like we just saw Circle, right? Relying on SVB to a large degree, not completely, but to a large degree, you're vulnerable. I mean, you're vulnerable. And you may feel the pain from the domino effect that will occur when the legacy system or parts of it collapse. That's what they're trying to convey here. And not just my humble opinion. Maybe you have a different interpretation. I can respect that. No problem. Let's continue on. Relationships with correspondent banks, as well as ample resources to expand into new markets and properly manage international treasury flows. Compounding this, while it's well known that cross-border payments are messy and fractured, events in recent years have created siloed regional pockets that exacerbate challenges associated with global treasury management. We talked about this the last video. It's hard for them to manage where everything is. So when they deploy the new financial system on the XRPL or Stellar, they'll be able to track where that money is and implement certain mechanisms to make sure that monetary policy is respectful. Not only can you track your funds, but you can control how it interacts in that other environment that's going to have other regulatory entities guiding it in alternative monetary policies. Alternative mean, just opposite to what the Western monetary policies might be, like, for instance, Europe, right? Europe wants to make sure they don't step on the toes of Australia if people start using the digital euro in Australia, something like that. I don't know. You get what I'm saying? Let's continue on, right? So siloed regional pockets that exacerbate challenges associated with the global treasury management. Increased barriers have led to greater friction in cross-border payments, putting pressure on businesses to diversify suppliers and strategically alter trade corridors. And see, and that's the thing. We have all the corridors. We don't have to alter them whatsoever. we enhance them. This equates to taking on additional FX rates, establishing new banking relationships, and understanding and complying with new tax rules and regulations. So Ripple continues to dominate. They're striking while the iron is hot. So now let's move on to another article here. We have 3 more articles to get through. All right, 3 more articles here. I'm going to skip this one. It's about crypto AI and the future lawyer's role. We'll do that another day. All right. Let's go here to material sector because I wanted to cover this here. So this is from seekingalpha.com. This is material sector weekly roundup. All right. The S&P material sector index fell minus 7.64% this week. In the material select sector SPDR ETF, minus 7.59%. Sentiment was dampened by Federal Reserve Chair Jerome Powell's hawkish testimony to the Senate and the House and hot jobs market data, which is questionable in my humble opinion. The banking sector was also hit by 2 events: the liquidation of crypto-friendly bank Silvergate SI and the collapse of SVB Financial SIVB unit, Silicon Valley Bank. This helped the precious metals rally on Friday, although their weekly performance was not as positive. April COMEX gold plus 0.7% to 1,867.76 per ounce, while May silver was minus 3.43% to $20.53 an ounce. Gold futures have been falling during the week after Federal Reserve Chair Jerome Powell said, quote, inflationary pressures are running higher than expected. That we know, we covered that the other day. Copper prices, let's get to that. Oh, yeah. Let's talk about copper. Copper prices also dipped minus 1.22% for the week over fears of further interest rate hikes and rising supplies. 3-month copper on the London Metal Exchange down minus 2.1% this week. All right, so there you have it. If you want to read the rest of that, they have a lot of good information on here. There's a lot more to this article. Once again, it's on seekingalpha.com. All right, so now let's go here to a little bit of silver news. This is from fxstreet.com. Silver price forecast. Silver price rallies on the back of a mixed U.S. jobs report that witnessed more Americans than estimated added to the workforce. Even though that would result in a strong U.S. dollar, the unemployment rate edged up, taking pressure off the U.S. Federal Reserve. At the time of writing, the XAG-USD is trading at $20.49 an ounce. Wall Street extended its losses due to a risk-off impulse. The U.S. Department of Labor revealed that non-farm payrolls in February rose to 311,000 jobs, more than 225,000 expected. January's job numbers were lowered from 517,000 to 504,000. The jobless rate was 3.6% higher than the forecast of 3.4%, indicating a weaker labor market. Wages rose by 4.6%. We covered that in the last video, the rise in wages. My word. And attention turned to the U.S. inflation data next week. During the week, the U.S. Fed Chair Jerome Powell said that higher and potentially faster interest rate hikes could be needed at his appearance in the U.S. Congress. He added that the U.S. economy remains solid. What? Wow. And that the Fed will be watching non-farm payrolls figures in next week's February Consumer Price Index readings. All right, so now that you have that information, what are you going to do with it? I disagree with almost everything Jerome Powell says. Like, I just in the real world, what I'm seeing is not good. It's not good. And then the data that I'm reading, the data, it just doesn't add up to what they're saying. They're painting some sort of illusion. Or it's either that or they're just completely delusional themselves. I don't know. We'll continue to look at the catalyst and listen, I could be wrong, but I don't think I am. And you know, we can respectfully agree to disagree if you think otherwise, but things are not looking good in this economy. Just my humble opinion. So now that you have that information, what are you going to do with it? I know what I'm going to do with it. So until next time, let's get to the money.